There we go. Boom. Hello, everybody. Griffin Gaming here with the Soul Citizens, another Sunday, and thank you guys for joining us again. It is the last weekend in February, 2 months down, Kemi, 2 months down into 2021, and we're going to go into March, and that also means we're getting ready to go into we're going to wrap up the first quarter for CIG. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about in relation to that. But again, hello everybody, good to have you guys with us. And today we have a special guest with us. We have Love Machine, who is joining us today. There we go. We have Love Machine.
I didn't even have to ask. Thank you for that.
And it's good to have you. It's good to have you with us, LM. We really appreciate you visiting. And beyond that, we have with Mr. KEMI65. The man is here today with us again. And last but not least, the man, the ambassador. What is it called? The Black Jurassic? That was one of your other titles, I think it was.
I have a whole bunch.
I know you got a whole bunch of titles. Fastcart. What's up, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing all right. How's everyone?
Doing good. Let's do some introductions. Hello, everybody. Dark Knight, good to see you. J2, good to see you. Jade, there's Jade. Jade is my heart, because Jade, we get on this whole origin thing and we just crash Paul Shelley's chat whenever we get going. So
you talk about origin already.
There you go. And Miss Hearts, hey Miss Hearts, aloha. Ooh, you feeling, you know what, you must be feeling good. And you know, Miss Hearts, we were thinking about you the last few weeks. We know that you were riding the wave down there with the weather, but we're good to see that you rode through it well. And I'm sure you're saying aloha because you would love to be in Hawaii instead of this crazy weather we've had in the United States. But yeah, she was out there hanging. She was hanging, but hey, she pushed through. Some of our friends in Texas really had to push through. So it's good to see you.
Oh my God.
Yeah, let's jump in for a minute. And before we get too deep here, I've got actually the different card. I'm supposed to have this card up instead of that one. Let's talk a little bit about our guest, our special guest today. LM, tell us a little bit about you, because a lot of folks in the community may not know you. I met you or stumbled upon you when you were on the Astropub. You and Crucian, if I remember, and some other folks were on talking about the upcoming God, what's it called? I forgot. Just flew out of my head. The race.
The Daymar
Rally. Yeah, and you guys were. I was like, it was like the week before you guys were on, and that's when I saw you. And I asked Paul. I said, "Hey, who is this person? I haven't seen her in the community." And you and I got a chance to talk a little bit. So why don't you share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Griff. Thank you for having me. It's been a long time since then. Yeah, it's been a whole month and a half, and I've been waiting to be on your show. So I'm happy to be here. Happy everybody in chat. Y'all are wonderful. So I was on that show with Crucian, Paul, and the president of the guild that I'm in, the Rec Raiders. Cyberpunk is our president, and I am public relations.
Mm-hmm.
So I do all of the kind of like Twitch broadcasts. If you see our fancy graphics and videos, I do our internal newsletter, and we're a small guild, but we're growing. So we always are welcome to have new members fly with us. If you just want to be an affiliate and fly from time to time, we're always open to have new members. But we have a strong, like tight-knit team. We don't call it a brotherhood because it's gender neutral. We call it the Rookery of Ravens. So, you know, apply, join today. I'm in the chat. So if you click Rec Raiders, go to our Twitch, check it out. But just happy to be here. Happy to be on the show.
Awesome. We're happy.
I just want to say.
Go ahead, Fastcart.
Just want to say real quick that Griff does plan weeks in advance. Like you saying, you're waiting a month and a half in advance. That's not an exaggeration. We have stuff like 2 months, 3 months in advance. So yeah, we do plan in advance.
I appreciate it. It's very professional. It's very nice.
Well, we appreciate that. Thank you. We appreciate you having time to come and hang out with us tonight. We've had a lot going on. Fist, good to see you. I will be back just trying to kill this fugitive bounty. Okay, we hope you're able to kill the fugitive bounty. And Admiral Kusanagi, yes, good to see you. Yeah, that's one of his titles, Admiral, believe it or not, amongst many that he has. Fastcart.
I'll look up the picture.
Yeah, he has a ton of titles. Okay, we are, as you guys know, this weekend, or today rather, our show today, and I don't know why my credit thing isn't popping up here. I'm having some issues. Let me switch out this graphic here. As you guys know, the title of today's show is Hot Wheels and Not Wheels, and there is a reason why that is the title. We have been talking about careers. We have been talking about spaceships, all types of stuff in relation to Star Citizen. But one of the things we haven't talked very much about is about vehicles. We have no shows about vehicles. And hence the reason why Love Machine is here, because as I mentioned, it was when I saw her on a show about Daymar Rally. And I was like, we've been putting off this thing about dealing with vehicles that are ground-based, and we need to have a conversation about them. And we know that a lot of folks here own them. You've bought them, you've melted them, you've upgraded them. And maybe after the day's show, you might go back and say, you know what, I think I'm going to pull that thing out of melt, or I think next time it comes around, I might get that, what I used to call a token out, and put it to good use in the game. So we're going to kind of jump into that. But before we do, I do want to go back to the slide that we had up just a second ago. Many of you guys know we've been talking about this, that in March the 7th, in fact, is our anniversary. It'll be our 1 year. Believe it or not, I've been hanging out with Kemi and Fastcart for a year. Can you believe it? I can't take it anymore.
And it seems like 10 because of the pandemic.
No, but it's been great hanging out with them. Not just them, but all the other people. 10th Sigma, Colossal. God, there's too many people start naming. Seer. We've had a Gigi. We've got a really good group of folk. And so on March the 7th, we are going to be celebrating our 1 year anniversary. It is our intention to have as many of the Soul Citizens here as possible. We did that back when we celebrated CIG's 8th year. We had a lot of us on that time, and we're going to try and replicate that again this weekend. But we're going to kind of do a year in review and then talk about some ideas about Star Citizen and Soul Citizens and things we want to do in the future. But we're inviting you guys to be here. Now, here's the cool thing. We are trying to reach Twitch followers of 1,000 followers. Right now, we're at 820. We're at 820. And we want to hit 1,000. So that means we need 180 followers within the next week. So we're going to ask that you would invite people to watch the show next week, to send messages out to your friends and say, hey, come see the Soul Citizens. And if we get 1,000 followers, we are going to be giving away an Endeavor base. We're going to give away an Endeavor base.
Decided?
Yeah, it's decided only because I put it in the Twitch thing to broadcast next week. So I had to pick which one. So I finally decided which one we're going to go with. Now, if we get really, really lucky and things go well, we may even give away a Banu Merchantman. That's a secondary. So we may do two. And we may do two. But I can guarantee you that we're going to do an Endeavor base. But that's only if, only if we reach 1,000 followers. So I'm actually expecting that next Sunday is going to be the big day for the push. So if folks want to sign up or become followers tonight, if you've never watched us before and you want to be a follower, that's great. The giveaway is not restricted to followers, but if you're here next Sunday when we do the giveaways, and if we don't do the Endeavor base, we will give away some other very cool stuff. We may give away a Vulcan and an SRV and some other stuff. We may even give away the Banu Merchantman. But if we get the 1,000, we're doing the Endeavor base. So hopefully you guys can be here for that. So that's next week, March the 7th. In the meantime, LM, there's something that you don't know about, that Fastcart knows about, that I want to share very quickly. And that's the fact that this past Friday was one of our Soul Citizens' birthday.
Oh God.
Kemi. You guys give shouts out for Kemi. Give shouts out for Kemi. Kemi's birthday was Friday, and this is kind of like a birthday weekend for him. As Fastcart says, it doesn't mean he's 65. It just means that's his name. So don't y'all say happy 65th. Don't say happy 65th. It's just that it was his birthday, and he had a real good time. A lot of people hung out with him on Friday in the verse, and he spent a lot of time out there having a real good time. So we want to say happy birthday to Kemi once again. We have to acknowledge that.
Thank you, Griff.
No problem.
Thanks, guys.
The other thing that we have to do, and we missed this because a lot of you guys know that during the month of January, the last couple weeks, we took off because CIG normally takes off during January, and we took a little breather. And when we did that, not only did we take a breather, but we also happened to miss this person's birthday. So we want to give a shout out to Gigi because we missed hers in January, and I have to give her a shout out because I gave Fastcart a shout out, and if I don't, she's going to probably beat us with a 10-foot pole. So we don't want to say that we missed her birthday. So you guys know Gigi, give her a shout out too for a happy birthday. I'm not even sure if she's in the chat right now, but tell her happy birthday anyway, because another one of our people that we missed out on as well. So we want to give those folks really, really great shout outs for happy birthday stuff. We don't have any like CIG gift cards or anything for them, but we'll just tell them happy birthday. Okay. All right.
Warm spirits.
Warm spirits. All right. We'll go with the warm spirits. Okay. So let's jump into this stuff about vehicles. And let me start with LM. We're gonna call her LM, guys. We made this decision before the show started, so we're gonna go with, instead of Love Machine, that's a long name. We don't want to call her Miss Machine. We don't want to say Hey Love, so we're gonna go with LM. Okay. LM, what became your? Do you have a passion about vehicles? I mean, the fact that you guys have been putting this work in. And by the way, I meant to ask you this: the Stanton 7 trailer. Did you work on that?
I'm not involved in the production for it.
Okay.
We had a team ready to race, and we did race yesterday. And I think we were going to talk about all that and the outcome later, or we could talk Stanton 7 now.
We are. No, but I'm talking about the video trailer. Did you work on that in some way? No, you didn't.
I'm not
Okay.
involved in the video production. No,
Okay.
for them. No.
All right. I just wanted to make sure. I heard the right thing. Okay, cool. So talk to me a little bit about what just this whole thing about vehicles. Are you into that, or are you more into aircraft and stuff in the game?
I am into vehicles, and I think they have a really good tangible use right now. Like, no, we don't have roads. No, we don't have cool secret like underground areas that need like a Gray Cat PTV to traverse long stretches yet. However, I think people are sleeping on the utility of the Dragonfly.
Yeah,
that's my thing.
Okay, very cool. Kimmy, what about you? Are you a vehicles person, or are you kind of like, keep me in the air, I'll be all right up there? How do you feel about vehicles?
Oh, it's a need. It's possibly, it may save your life one day in the verse. And in regards to talking about the potential of apex predators roaming around, and you want to do mining in caves and such, and that vehicle could protect you, as well as protection from radiation, potential radiation, with the areas of what pyro is going to bring to the table. So covering yourself, staying in an environment, a makeshift or temporary environment is essential, as opposed to being on foot. Yeah.
You and I had a good laugh the other day talking about being on foot in the game, right? That's why I kind of laughed when you said that, because I didn't think about vehicles in relation to that. But that's a good point. Fastcart, what about you? Vehicles, ships, or are you a combination of both? Okay, there it is, right behind him, right? Okay.
It's a combination of both, but I do have several people. Some people like to call them LTI tokens. I call them vehicles.
Okay.
But I have 4, but I'm looking to shrink that if possible. But I have we can probably go over them later. But we have the Nox QA, this one. Have the Ranger CV, the Ranger RC, and the Dragonfly Yellow Jacket.
Okay. Are you favoring anyone over any other? Oh man, Mad Style. Go ahead, Mad Style. Mad Style with the 600 bits coming through as always. Thank you, Mad Style. We appreciate that. So, FC, do you have what's your favorite? I like the
clear because of the look, but I like the Yellow Jacket because of the utility. And I like the Ranger because it actually has a wheel. So I mean, I like all of them basically.
Okay. Kimmy, what about you? Any favorite? If any vehicle is like the thing that you use your favorite?
It's not a particular favorite. I think it's more or less you have to get in that vehicle and try it for yourself. With that said, it's just the right vehicle at the right situation. So the fact that now I'm incorporating dual sticks, and now I just realized there's a lot of fun potential. Let me tell you, I got in a Tumbril, and I was actually using dual sticks driving that vehicle, man, and let me tell you, it is so much fun. But based on the situation, I'm open to just about quite a few of the vehicles in game if it serves that particular purpose in my mission. So I'm open to them.
Okay. It's funny you say that, because a few weeks ago, Captain Richard went out with a bunch of folks, and he had a wheel, a regular driving wheel, and he was having a blast with that thing. And I was like, it almost made me want to break mine out. I was like, wow, I never really thought about using the wheel again, but it was amazing to watch what he was doing with it. The control level was just, in a different space with the wheel, LM, what about you? Any favored vehicle of stuff that's in game right now, or stuff that's coming?
I'm all about the G12s, honestly. That hybrid between the Cyclones and the Ursa, I think they have a lot of potential.
By the way, that was an Origin vehicle, folks. Origin vehicle. Okay.
Here we go.
All right. So, okay. No, that's very cool. Well, let's go back a little bit. Let's do some history, and let's talk about where this whole vehicle thing started with. So you guys bear with us here. We're going to try and add a little bit of levity to this show, hopefully. So let's see if we can talk about this a little bit. Some of you all may not remember this, but back in the day with the PTVs, right? This is where it all got started, right? With the cats. And some of you may or may not remember that you could get different paint jobs for these. And so on this video here, you'll see that the person's kind of demonstrating all the different colors and the skins that were available. You know, let me ask you guys, anybody wants to jump in on this, do skins, would you get skins? Would you be willing to paint your vehicles a certain color, or you don't care? You just want to make sure it works?
Oh, well, red makes it go faster, obviously.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh no! Oh yeah!
Okay.
High five.
Okay.
Oh gosh! You
Okay.
know, it didn't really matter to me at one point, but now when you're talking about getting into Star Citizen, you're talking about guilds and organizations and such. Now you're talking about the aspect of brand colors. What do you adhere to as far as your guild, or you as a streamer have a particular brand color? And I kind of attach myself to that now, so I'm using green.
There you go.
In that context.
There's
so,
your green.
Yeah, there you go. Look at that. That's a beautiful go-kart, man. Go-cat. Look at that.
Yeah.
You see that? That's I want that.
Okay. Fair enough. What's the practicality of this, though? I mean, what you know. Well, you know what? I'm going to let the video play a little bit, and then we're going to talk about the practicality. Because when this cart was introduced, originally it was in the hangars. Some of you guys who were around back in the day, we used to use these actually to get around in the hangars, because if you remember in the early days, the hangars were expandable, and they may have went over 5 hangars in length. And so to walk that distance to get on your ship and check out your ship was kind of a pain. So you would jump into your buggy and you would drive that thing down there. But this is the thing I want to remind people of. Some of you may remember the history of this, Area 18. Have you ever seen this before, LM? This was the original Area 18. Have you ever seen that before?
I have not, and for you know, chat here, I've only was really actively playing kind of like mid 2018 on.
Okay.
So there's some things I've looked up and found, but yeah, this is new to me. This video, that is intense.
Then that's good. So because I want you to see what was so intense about this particular part of the game. When you used to come to Area 18, when it was a module, they used to have these carts around, and you could get in them. And what would happen is if you were walking around, people would mow you over. They'd run you over in these carts.
The park bench is your best friend. I jumped on many.
It's very true. And so anyway, this is for those who didn't see it, this is what people used to do all the time. They would drive around in these vehicles and basically do nothing more than demolition derby in them for quite a while.
With people.
And don't forget, when these things explode, they explode real well.
Yes.
you better get out of it quick.
In a very big way. In a very big way.
And some of them were like eggshells. Like you just tap it and it explodes. And it was like, yeah, it was an interesting time.
Yeah.
You would sometimes spawn to the areas just a pileup of just carts just smoldering and on fire. You're like, oh.
Exactly.
Oh, see, that's that lithium battery. See?
No, these were before the Note 7. So.
Yeah. So let's talk.
Sony Vaio engines.
Oh wow. So let's talk about what is the practicality for the golf cart, right? The PTV, right? Personal transport vehicle. What do you guys see as applications for this in the game? Why should people own one? Should they own one, or is it strictly a token? What do you guys think? Kimmy, let me start with you on that.
Well, going forward, let's just say we have the homesteads and we're in a community. You have village. You can get in that cart and go down the hill and hit the warehouse and load up some cargo or some essentials like maybe water and whatnot, and then come back. Or you might want to just look around your community to see if everything is all right and do some investigation as opposed to running.
Lightweight patrol vehicle. That's cool. Community patrol vehicle. I like that. Admiral Kusanagi says it's good for golf. That's it. All right. LM, what about you? What do you see for usage for this? Anything in particular in the game?
I second Kemi's emotion on the casual experience. Like, this is obviously lightweight option compared to a Cyclone. Now, what I do think it's missing is either a third seat or a space for just a cube. So, you know, it is only 2-person transport, but I think it has a purpose, and I think the purpose will be expanded on once we get larger ships into play. Instead of having to run back and forth all the way up and down that C2. I think those will find some use.
Good point.
Yeah, I worked in aviation, and people had tugs, these small vehicles that they would traverse certain areas with, because walking takes time, right? So even if you guys remember when they did the video for the what did they call it? The week when we had the thing in November with the ships. And remember when they had the commercial with the C2? He was inside the C2 riding in the golf cart, and he rode it all the way out. So you could definitely see some simple practical use when you're going through an Idris or a large ship like that with a large hangar. Yeah. Fastcart, what about you? Any other practical uses you see for the PTV?
I wrote down 3 things. It was only $15 or cheaper on UEC, so it's really cheap to get this vehicle.
Okay.
You probably put cargo in the passenger side, even though it won't sit there. But if you drive safely, you can probably take cargo on the passenger side, and it fits on a lot of ships.
Yeah.
So like the longer ones or the wider ones won't fit. This will fit in a lot of ships. So there's a practicality for that. Right. And also, I got the red skin. I can't help myself. I want the mine to go faster.
That's cool. That's cool.
Brand colors, man. Brand colors.
Very cool.
Very nice.
Yep. Hey, Gladestone, we see you out there. And thank you, J2, International Aerospace Expo, the IAE. I blacked out there for a moment. Okay.
Thank you.
Let's jump to the next vehicle then. Let's change up here. Let's look at this commercial.
After eating the bear's breakfast, Goldilocks explored their house. She saw 3 chairs and wanted badly to rest her feet. But the first chair she tried was much too small.
A lot of things.
So she tried the second chair, and it was much too big. But when she tried the third chair, she found that it was just right.
LM, you said you started here in 2018. How did you get a commercial already?
Huh? What? Oh, what does that mean?
How were you in a commercial?
I've been in a lot of things, just so know.
Okay. Yeah, Admiral, don't even bring that subject up. I was thinking the same thing. No families. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah. That too. The details.
Yeah, I know. Fastcart, let me start with you this time. The Rock, Gray Cat, first vehicle that we get from them. All we had was the multi-tool, and now we've got this one out there. What do you think about it? Is it something that you think is for everybody, or do you think it's just very specialized for people into mining, or what?
Well, it's not too big and it's not too small. It's just no. One thing I will say about the commercial, like even though we had the reunion thing, the reunion commercial that was last year, this is by far my favorite commercial. It came out recently, so I really like this commercial. It had people of color and it had families and it had women and it had the whole thing. But as far as the Rock itself, I'm into mining. Yes, I am, but I'm more of the prospector type. So we'll talk about that later. The Rock, I don't see myself like using a land vehicle per se to mine. I'm probably use to prospector more. But I mean, as far as the commercial one, I love it.
Okay. LM, I don't know if you saw on the so the subscribers in the vault, they have some pictures in there showing the upcoming caves. And one of the things they showed was vehicles being able to go into the caves now and do mining. How are you feeling about that? Do you think that's going to make the Rock more popular if people can start literally driving into these bigger caverns or whatever to do mining?
As long as they design the caverns so you can be able to come out.
Yeah.
Obviously, any carrier that can carry the Rock will not be big enough to make it through those chasms. And we did see in the ISC video that you could probably pilot a Saber or something into these new caverns. They're great, but nothing big enough for a Rock. So that's my my kind of fear is I hope we can drive out if we get the Rock in there, but it's an exciting feature that I can't wait for. We actually yesterday did a big mining night where we stuffed 4 rocks in the back of a Valkyrie and it worked.
Wow. And
it was quite an adventure on Daymar. Got a lot of use out of it since it can pick up the small teeny hand mineable rocks and the rock sized rocks, you know, that they've made for this.
You're rocking the rock.
Yeah, but I think it's not a solo player craft. Just in part, you have to have something else to carry it. And now you've added the, let me get out of the pilot seat. Let me go into the buggy. Make sure I landed safely. Hopefully no one steals my ship. All these extra steps.
Yeah.
So then is it profitable with that second person involved if you find the right, if you have a good night, you find Hay Night and you can make a lot of money and it's enough money for two people operating. It's a good mission to do.
Okay.
Team building activity.
Okay. Cool. Kimmy, as far as the rock goes, do you think that there's a possibility they may expand it? To Eldam's point, the concern is being able to traverse through a cave, right? Do you think that maybe at some point they may make it where the laser on that is destructible? In other words, you can use it to pave your way through areas. Right now, instead of just being able to hit a rock and pull the minerals from it, could you this laser be modified later so that if they ever make the game destructible, you could actually push your way? Because remember when they did the grenade launcher thing, they showed us the guy hitting the grenade, hitting the ground, and he was actually able to destroy. Do you think that they could do something like that with the rock where later on, that would be the way to make sure that you could clear through? Like, let's say you want to set up a hideout in a cave. You could use a rock to bore out that thing to go through. Do you think that they may expand it beyond just what it is now is what I'm asking?
Excavation and removal of things to penetrate further.
Yeah, different heads, whatever the case may be. Yeah.
Mining areas. Yeah, that's a good possibility, Griff. That's a good question, especially with the fact that before us are 99 plus other systems and moons, and they have that capability to look further down as we're getting further iterations of the planetary tech. It opens the door for those capabilities and possibilities of then enhancing this particular vehicle to add modular attachments to do other things pertaining to the environments that's in front of us. Especially with when I repeat the apex predators having a module that can protect yourself or send a static shock to the creature to allow you to get away or
weaponize it,
provide you with other things such as a survival kit that's built into it. You know, so it's wide open.
Yeah, that's true. Because like I said, if they've changed the heads or whatever, and not to be funny, but Grey Cat is known for the modularity aspect of it, right? With the multi-tools. Yes. So who knows where they could go with it. That's a very good point. Thanks, Kimmy. All right, let's change up to the next vehicle that we want to look at. Let's see. Good old Ursa Rover.
Oh, love it. Classic.
It's old reliable.
Hard to beat.
I'm going to throw this one to LM first. What was your first impressions when you saw this commercial, LM?
I think that just shows off very well that it is a dependable utilitous wheels to have in your fleet. Obviously, and to Dark Knight's point though in the chat, until the G12 arrives. But what the G12 will not have that the Ursa does have is that combined cabin, because I think the G12s have it where it's just the seats in the front, and then if you have the cargo in the back, you have that as like a lift. So I do enjoy the Ursa as a complete walk in, live in kind of area. That type of stuff steals my heart immediately. A ship that you can walk on and feel at home in. And this is, obviously it's the rover exploration. We got the seats in there. It's got the weapons on it. It's wonderful. It's fantastic. It's kept me safe in a lot of situations.
Yeah. Hey, Kimmy, they showed a lot of different scenarios with the Ursa, right? What did you, any of those in particular stand out to you? Because they showed everything from being out in the winter to combat, anything in particular?
Definitely it was Microtech, that sort of sub-zero type of environment, right? When you showed that video, Griff, it just really brought to mind that this is a safe environment for you and your crew. A number of people, not just 1 or 2 people, maybe 3 to 4, and it will withstand some of those elements out there. So it lets you know that there it is. It lets you know that, hey, whatever environment you're about to face, once we get these systems in, you want to test the waters with the Ursa Rover first before anything else. When you compare it to basically an open air vehicle, this is one that's going to help protect you. And again, from hostile entities that may be on those planets as well.
Good. fastcart, a lot of these vehicles, this one in particular, is 2 sets of steering controls, right, for the ship. Some of them have singular, but some have 2. Do you think that there are going to be people who, we've talked about careers in the game, right? And I was thinking about things like theater of war or some other related things where vehicles become important. Do you think there'll be people who that's what they will be good at doing? And the reason why I'm saying that is because people who I talked to who got a chance to test theaters of war talked that the Ursa was one of the toughest things in the game. It was deadly for people who were testing. And I would have never expected to have heard that. But they said that the cannon on top of this thing, and if you had some people who really knew what they were doing damage with an Ursa. And I think most of the time we hear the term rover, you know what I mean? And we're just thinking about transport. Do you think that this will be something that people will focus in on? I mean, like where they're really good? Because I think to be good in a vehicle like this, it has to take teamwork, right? And we can talk about that with this or the Nova tank or whatever. Do you think there'll be people who will focus a lot on vehicles? Because a lot of stuff right now is based on ships and spacecraft. But what about vehicles at this level where it's a team effort to do something?
I think people who focus more on FPS may focus on this, or people who like to do both, fly ship and do ground stuff may focus on this. I don't know if anyone would do specialized just for this only, but I think people are like, if they get the 2 things, this is one of the 2 things that they'll be good at. But I forgot, I have one because I have an Aquila, so I didn't count that because I didn't buy it separately. Yeah. But I like how it's tanking is or sturdy, just like you said. It's a great little thing. I haven't really practiced with it much, but I'm probably after the show go back and rectify that.
Yeah. I was also looking at something LM said about the design where you've got the separate cabin versus cockpit. So you've got the door there for atmospheric reasons too. Your persons who are up front, they don't have to worry about decompression, depending on where you are. So I was looking at just the general design, and then Kemi, to your point, I actually sat there and had to go back and recount while I was watching the commercial. You're right. You got 4 people in the back and 2 people. That's 6 folks that are able to use this vehicle to get around. So it's a tough vehicle, the 6-wheel thing. I mean, we've seen this plenty of times. LM, you guys have seen this in races, right? Where they've used this in races, right?
More relevant is the Hurston Hurt Locker, where they have like 15 teams in a crater. We're talking, there might have been 3 Ursas in there, but then everybody else is on like the Cyclone TR or they're in Dragonflies. And the last vehicle in the crater was our Ursa, until it blew up. Like I flipped it. But it was the last one alive. And if you put a yellow jacket on top of the Ursa, it is a nightmare for other ground vehicles. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Is this thing go for $50?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Let me ask this. I mean, is this for any of you all? Anybody who wants to answer this can if you don't own one. I mean, do you think this is a vehicle that you should have in your arsenal or no? The Ursa.
Yes.
You say yes, Kemi? Yeah. Okay.
It depends.
Okay.
I mean, what are you using it for? I mean,
yeah, I know you can't use it on your brand new merchantman.
Instead of a big old Ursa, you might get away with the Dragonfly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Well, you literally can, like, say if you're in let's take Pyro for example, and you're in a area, you're on the planet, extreme heat. Yeah. You're taking that vehicle to point A to point B, and you find maybe minerals or some valuables. You can immediately get out and grab it and get right back in as quickly as possible. And then all of a sudden you run into a space crab, and there you have your weapons, a loadout of weapons right there with you. Not just the ones on your person, but the ones stored. You may have a complement of extra grenades Maybe you use 2 on your person. It's not enough to take out the crab, but you have a complement of 10 inside of that rover, and you're able to use it. So multi-purposes and the fact that it can hold things makes it so valuable.
Okay.
One thing I want to put back on is, oh, you want to go ahead? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, not to mention future contested battle zones. That's the only thing that's going to make it through a field of fire, either from turrets or from incoming light fighters trying to sweep across the ground. Like it would take a couple sweeps for any fighter to make it through, like the chunkiness of an Ursa.
Okay.
And let's say if you do take it out, it still provides cover.
It also depends. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. It also depends on the terrain, in my opinion. Like, if you're on a rocky planet and Ursa Rover may not be good as a vehicle that can levitate, for instance, or maybe even a smaller vehicle that can make those tighter turns.
Well, that's going to be part of the assessment too. When we were talking about this on Friday, Kimmy and I were talking about this. You know, people are going to have to assess what's the right tool for the right job, right? When you take something out. And, you know, you may load up a certain vehicle and that vehicle just isn't the vehicle. The G12, as much as I'm a big Origin person, I was looking at the G12 and realizing there are some terrains that is not going to be the vehicle for. You know, the Ursa, interestingly enough, seems to be, because of its 6-wheel design, is a pretty tough vehicle. It's not going to climb big rocks, but as LM said, I've watched people have battles in these things, and they're pretty tanky. They're pretty good. Yes. So I agree. I think this is one of the things that everybody should have. You know, just only because unlike when you're using the tumbrils, which we'll talk about later, which are open air access, right? That means you've got to be in a certain type of atmospheric suit if the location you're in doesn't have oxygen, or if it's too hot or too cold. At least one of the things I liked about when they did this commercial, we're going to go get on past this, was when they made the revolutions, they showed everything, like Kimmy said, from microtech to being in battle to maybe being in a place like Pyro. It can go in any type of atmosphere and seems like it'll be okay.
And you may not even have to buy it separately. You might have a constellation already that has it already. So.
Well, that's very true.
You could with the Aquila.
Yeah, you could go ahead and spend $275 and get the Ursa for free. Yeah, that's true. I'm just teasing. I think it'll be easier to pay the $50, but I get what you're saying. Yeah, don't forget, many of you guys, that this vehicle is included with the both the Connies, right?
Aquila.
It comes with the Andromeda.
Phoenix.
No, the Phoenix gets a different one. It's supposed to have its own. The Lynx. It's supposed to have the Lynx.
Oh, the Lynx.
Yeah, the Lynx, the one that we have never seen anything of. The Lynx. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So
they
may have now. Don't quote me on this, but they may have discontinued that and just stuck with just the.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of barking about that, though, boy. There'll be a lot of barking. Yeah, they did. You're right. Okay, let's go ahead and jump to the next one here, and. LM mentioned this one a few minutes ago. Let's jump in it.
Oh yeah.
You love to see it.
Citizen Cone 2018.
There you go. I'm looking at a picture now.
All right, FC, I was going to go to you, but I'm going to go to LM only because she made a statement earlier, which was she felt that the Dragonfly was underused, the Yellow Jacket Dragonfly. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
I say underused because I wish in my org we used it more when we did bunker missions to do a hot drop. Because for a while, the sentry turrets at the bunker missions were like really beefed up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not just me. They really beefed it up. It took multiple railgun rounds, and it was hard for ships to bust those things. So before they were really hard, it was part of our strategy that we would fly in our carrier, have the Dragonfly go out, drop someone down by near one turret, the pilot of the Dragonfly drops down by another one, pop the railgun rounds off, and make it a safe zone for the carrier to land and execute the mission. But also, does anyone remember the feature where if you were on a moon and you hit enough air, you could engage that flight mode? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
Okay.
I remember back in the day where you hit a rock and you went into flight mode without even trying.
And kept going
into orbit just by hitting a rock.
Yep.
But you're not restricted to just the surface of a planet or a moon. If you're able to launch that thing like from a caterpillar in space, you're able to use it as well.
Right.
Which is helpful for those comma rays if you're trying to take those down, or if you just want one person from your team to repair them.
Yep. But there's just no bridge between planet side or surface side to space. You cannot ascend or ascend or descend between the two. That's where that's the limitations, but you have that maneuverability on planet surface and space with this. And you can sit two people. One person can ride reverse and cover your 6 on it. I thought that was really cool about it.
FC, you got that picture of that Nox behind you. How do you feel about the yellow Dracula or the dragonfly? How do you feel about that? The Drake. The Drake.
Well, I have a special place for the dragonfly because I dropped the link in Twitch chat. As Kimmy noted before, in 2018, that was the big prop from JR Fabrication. They brought one over from. Not Europe, but I think they're Australia.
Ireland,
but they brought one over.
Ireland, I think that's where they're located.
And they had it all on display, and people were actually able to pose and take pictures on it. And you had to be one of the first people on, because people get drunk, people start drinking, people get too rough on it and start breaking stuff. So you had to be you wanted to be one of the first ones to get the pristine one, rather than be late and have pieces broken up and stuff like that. So that's a picture.
Oh, go ahead.
Huh?
So they were specific about how do you get on it. They were very specific about getting on and getting off of that life-size model. They said, do not get on, do not grab the handlebars and get on it. They were adamant about that. And they were really particular about how tightly you put your hands on those handlebars, because they were not really stable. And I put my hands on it, and just as a prop for the picture, and you could feel how flimsy it was. But I took pictures of this when they a few days before they got it together. They had to, and I spoke with them. They had to actually bring it in 3 or 4 pieces and then assemble it once they got it there. But I saw it from a distance, and I got pictures of it across the fence when they were setting up.
The irony is that that's actually a 3/4 scale. Believe it or not.
Scale?
It's actually 3/4 scale.
75%.
And the reason why I'm saying that is because when we saw it, and Kimmy will tell you, it was impressive. We really, it even that size was amazing. But again, it was a model. And I think what happens is people see it and they automatically think, oh, this thing is made out of metal and steel. No, it's made out of, it's made out of like out of materials and wood and all this other stuff. But all of us got a chance to do it. There was a line there. People took, and they took official photo. This is actually an official CIG photo. And what they did is that if you took a photo, you signed up for it, they put out an email later and gave us a link, and you could go pull your picture from there. But very popular. Go ahead, FC.
And Gladstone's asking who's that behind me. That's Miss Hart. She's a great wing person to have your back. I recommend her greatly.
Later that night, they actually, when it believe it or not, we were still there until like almost 4 a.m. We got there like before 5 a.m. to get in line, and it went all day to almost 4 a.m. in the morning. But once the sun set, and at night, what they did, they put LED lights under it and put smoking effects under it to give you the impression that it was taking off or it was hovering. Yeah,
it was really, built into the platform. Yeah, they had all that built into the platform. And by the way, when he says he was there at 5 a.m. and he left at 4 a.m. No, I got there at 11 o'clock and I left at 9 o'clock.
Oh my gosh, Chris.
Convention center open that early.
I think I left around. Honestly, I left around like 11 o'clock. I didn't hang around very late, but it was a great time. Great time. Great time. So let me ask you this then. As far as the Dragonfly, I think the very first time, and I couldn't find the video the first time they showed this. But if I'm remembering correctly, it was on the video where the guy had to go onto the Starfare that was disabled, and there was a cloth over it, and it was the very first time that we saw the Dragonfly. And I remember the reaction. People went crazy when they saw it. And I guess my other thing, my 2 cents on this thing is, I'm really curious to see how people, because they talked about this when it first came out, how they will use this for piracy when they're trying to board another ship. And I've seen the idea of people putting a bunch of these on a Caterpillar, and once a ship is disabled, 10 of these come launching out of there to do a boarding party to get on another ship. So I am curious to see how many different ways people will use this, both not just on the ground, but like you said, Kimmy, also in space, how they can put good practical use to that. So, okay. So by the way, there's the Dragonfly, the Caterpillar, and who remembers what the third one is? No, I'm talking about the bikes.
Vehicles.
There's 3.
The X1, that was from Origin.
Nope. I'm talking about Drake. Who in the chat knows? Come on, chat. There's a third Drake bike. Let's see who knows who it is. Let's see. Anybody?
Ooh.
No, J2, Drake, another J. Oh, I can't believe you guys have forgotten it. It is a limited rare bike that you can't even.
That's what you're talking about.
Space Kitty.
Okay, there we go. The Space Kitty. All right, the Space Kitty.
Oh,
do any of you guys own that? Listen, you know what? You know what? Try to see if you can buy one.
That don't count.
See if you can try to buy one. I bet you can't find one. The Star Kitty. Star Kitty. Look it up on eBay and see how much that booger's for.
Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah.
Don't just Google Star Kitten, guys.
Star Kitten.
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. Okay, all right, guys. Make sure you say Star Citizen Star Kitten.
Tell me after the show why not?
Wait, he's already typing.
No, I'm not.
All right.
I trust her.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and go to our next commercial while we're looking here. Let's jump into the next one here.
No, I'm only seeing Yellow Jackets.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not.
This is Chris Smith's work from the Austin studio. He did the Aopoa Nox. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Feel the need.
This commercial is telling me all over again.
All right, we've got another one to look at. Let's take it. This is the one for the queue.
Yes, Dark Knight. That one comes in black.
Thanks, J2.
I put it in quick chat.
Thank you. Okay, FC, I'm going to come to you. And I know you said you like the way the Nox looks, but and maybe you know, is there any, as far as I know, there's no distinguishing difference between the Q and the regular Nox other than the color? I don't know if there's
between those two, the color. Yeah.
Right. There's no performance issue, nothing different, right? As far as I know.
Nope.
Okay. Do you care about that? I mean, for you, do you think that there should be? Because I don't know why they distinguished it. I usually when they distinguish something, the loadout is different. There's something else. But if it's just the paint job, I don't know. What were you going to say, Kimmy?
I think the Q is the classic version of it, or the limited version of that particular
limited
style.
version.
In the
Yeah.
lore,
It's
it's
limited.
the human version, allegedly. But again, there's no difference. Yeah.
Okay. Mad Style, thank you. Wow, Mad Style gave out 5 gift subscriptions. You all give Mad Style a shout if you received one of those.
Always
Thank you,
pleasure,
Mad Style.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Wow. Hey, 10th Sigma's here. Good to see you, 10th.
Hey, 10.
We got one more
Yes,
James
sir.
Brown. Yeah, James Brown's got to stream one more time.
It's hard working man.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hardest
more
working.
specifically for the White Nox, it's in the
over.
lore. It was released right. It was released as the first time humans were able to participate in the sale of it, and in the lore, according to the ship matrix little paragraph.
Classic.
Okay. Was there a price difference?
Nope. There are 40, 45 and $40.
I bought them as a set.
You said there wasn't a difference. There was not a difference.
There was not a difference.
So the only difference was that people either got the limited edition version of it, similar to the Yellow Jacket. You either got
There's a
the
lore
limited
behind
edition,
it.
and that was in the lore. Okay.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Nox
and,
Q was a part of Alien Week, I think. I can't remember if both of them
I think
were, but
that's
I
it.
know the Q was part of the Alien Week.
Now, Admiral Kusanagi says the Q has a slightly slower SCM speed, so we may need to look at the specs on it. Yeah, because I would hope. I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm just looking for something else that would make me want to buy one over the other, and that's the thing I'm looking
If
for.
anything,
Other than
if
paint.
anything, I think the Q should be faster because it's more. It's
That's what
limited,
I thought.
but if-
That's
if
what I
it
would've
was-
thought.
If it's made by human, then maybe that's why it's slower. But when I bought it, there was no difference.
Okay,
This
well,
was like years ago.
yeah.
I purchased as a set.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to. I'm going to go back and look at it again. But I was hoping that there was something, especially if the Q, that it made this stand out a little bit more. But
Yeah, but I mean, as far as that commercial went, that commercial sold me on it instantly. Like it was like it goes fast, especially in a straight line, which is I was sold.
okay.
And granted, the site was updated 7 months ago on both of these entries, but yes, the original Nox, the black one, has a 275 SEM as opposed to the Q for humans is 220.
Wow. Really?
Wow.
That's a 7 month ago change, so who knows?
Wow.
But I haven't really dug too deep in play in the
Wow.
universe to really test that myself.
That's interesting. Okay. Well, it is
I
what it
may
is.
have to trade mine in.
Yeah, it is what it is. All right. Well, let's depart from talking about that one and let's take a look at this one here.
I'm gonna take a break now. See y'all later.
No, don't even try it. Okay. No video because we haven't seen video for this yet, but there are some images here that were presented for the Origin X1. And this is the one that, for me, like fastcart, when he said he saw the Nox, it was like, wow, I felt the same way. And not just because it was Origin, I just love the design on this particular bike. Very different than some of the other ones that we've had so far. Let's see. Scuba
Yeah, 2
Steve,
points
thank you for the
extra
host,
of
Scuba
afterburner
Steve. We
speed.
appreciate that. And there are 3 variants of this bike. We start seeing this start to happen too, where they start creating more than 2, but now 3 variants on these. There's the Velocity, which is the racer, and then the Force, which is a much more combat-oriented bike. Kimmy, let me get you. You are probably a little bit more up on this particular bike. What do you think about this one? And also, a little bit later in the video, it'll show a animation of the getting on and off the bike, and it'll also show where the components are. So, but do you have any thoughts about the X1 series when you saw it?
I initially did a purchase on it, and then I realized, I'm like, okay, how many vehicles am I going to keep?
Mm-hmm.
But to your point, in particular X1 Force,
Mm-hmm.
it has shield capabilities on that thing,
Mhm.
and that sets it apart from the other vehicles like the Nox. It has a 2XV shield generator to it. They all do, but that was, and also you're covered. It's sort of like protected, and so it lends to, it's the luxury series of we get that, but for the fact that it gives you variations to say, okay, you're able to, as opposed to the Nox, let's say you're exposed to extreme temperatures.
Mm-hmm.
With this, you're protected to an extent because of the covering, and then the other thing is, people are going to take pop shots at the Nox good luck doing that. But with the X1s, it has the shield protection. So it lends to, you can do what this can do, the other things what the others can do. Just it's a bike. It's a sort of a space bike, but you have that protection from firepower, as well as protection from the environment with this one.
Okay.
It sets it apart.
Okay. Neil Barnaby, thank you for the follow. We appreciate that. Fastcart, how about you? What do you think about the X1?
I saw the commercial. It looked cool, but it's not something that I would spend money on. It's something I would probably get in the PU using UEC and rather than spending cash on or credits on. But I do like the fact that it covers you and has more protection than some of the other vehicles. They're about the same prices. I'm just looking up now. The base is $40, the velocity is $45, and the force is $50. So they're all comparable in price, except this one had, shields and more protection. So who knows how much that'll come to play in actual gameplay.
Okay. LM, how about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of same with FC here. It's nice to have a bike that's protected instead of open canopy, for sure. I'm interested. So normally the variance is like base with a turret, racing with an EMP, and I'm very interested in their Pathfinder model that is specifically to like be more defensive. Like that's kind of a different edge to it. Like it'll still be agile, but meant to be that infiltrator type. So I just thought that was different as opposed to the other ways they've designed their variants on a theme. Is so they have the regular model that has like a gun in front, and then the racing is just strip it down, make it fast, and the Pathfinder is a defensive one, which I thought was just neat.
Doing recon.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
By the way, there are obviously plenty of people in chat that are looking for a 5-minute ban. Talking about Origin right now, but I'm going to cut them some slack. I'm going to cut them some slack.
Don't worry. If you ban you, I'll ban you.
I'm feeling generous. I'm feeling generous tonight, so I'll let them have their freedom of speech. But I will say this, Jade, I know you're listening. Dark Knight, I know you're listening. This is going to look so good in the 890 and the 600. That's all I'm going to say. That black and white.
What about your 400?
Well, you know what? It'll look good in the Phoenix too. It'll look good in the Phoenix too. That black and white is going to match everything. So that's all I'm going to say about it. But no, I do like the bike. I love the design on it. And the other thing too, when we talk about bikes, because I know we're going to get past bikes in a minute, at least the ones that are hovering.
Well, hopefully
the design on these is unique. The Yellow Jacket and Dragonfly lend themselves more to a utilitarian look to me. They look like the ones that can take on those rough rock surfaces. You mentioned to Kemi about having that second rider on the back to cover your 6. You mentioned it, LM, in the sense of being able to hot drop people into locations. So I think that it's nice that they've created these differences in these bikes. That Nox, for me, really in many ways seems like that bike that has a lot of speed when you look at it, and it'll get you from here to there. It does have a defensive capability in the sense of its design where you are somewhat covered up as well. The Origin one is, someone said it in chat earlier that it was like this over-engineered blah, 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 blah. And I think it is. I think it is that just, all those bells and whistles things that some people would say, oh my God, I don't need all that stuff, but I love the fact that they designed it that way. So all these bikes have their own unique, their design. Look, listen, don't y'all start in that chat. I'm trying to be gracious to all 3 of the bikes. I'm really trying to be gracious to all 3 of those bikes. Okay, let's get on past the X1. And let's get to the other stuff here.
A 2-man vehicle, a pilot or a driver and a navigator. You can also swap out the module for a turret in the back, which is also manned, so you can have up to 3 people.
It's transportation with like a focus on speed and maneuverability, like a fusion of a Humvee and a Jeep. It's got kind of the utility of a Jeep, so it's very all-terrain, but it's like rugged like a Humvee. It's strong and sturdy. There's a lot of exposed parts, and it's very off-road, There's actually a specific variant designed for racing, so it will have the ability to boost. It's got a really tight turning radius.
It was sort of our first in a lineup from Tumbril. It was a new company. It was a good opportunity to sort of work on new aesthetics, new designs, really sort of work on what makes this interesting. So this is basically a mixture between you know, sort of military Humvee and you know, like a Paris-Dakar off-road 4x4. Comes with multiple modules, so players can sort of choose the kind of experience they want. So it can just be sort of, you know, ragging it off-road, you know, as fast as they can, or they can swap out to a missile pod, or an EMP pod, or a cargo pod. So basically it's pretty darn flexible.
The difference between the Cyclone and the other land vehicles is that it's less of a utility vehicle. The Rover is more of it's got more combat capabilities and a little bit more storage, but it's kind of more like a box that just travels. The Cyclone is more of just a vehicle. It's more like just a truck that you can either store stuff on, or you can swap out the module in the back and do different utilities depending on what you switched out.
This is basically another surface vehicle to add to the fleet, or to your garage. You know, you'll have your like habitation pods, you know, on your planet. You know, you'll be able to park your Tumbril Cyclone next to it. But, you know, really the point of it is that, yeah, you can go exploring. Play it your way, isn't it? Basically, it's, you know, what do you want to do today? Where do you want to go? You know, you just point your nose and off you go. This way, you know, players will be able to choose what, you know, which version of the buggy they want. Hopefully they pick the right one. They don't find too much trouble.
I think the biggest challenge in designing it was the modularity aspect of it, because having to be able to swap out those pieces and how that was actually going to work and function. So you have the turret, or the anti-air, or the recon, or the racing versions, like what the functionality for each of those was going to be and how that made the vehicle unique when you swap them out, and what kind of gameplay that actually facilitated was kind of...
Remar, thank you for the Prime subscription. Thank you.
Make sure that each module, when you swapped it out, filled a different role. So if you put the turret in, you'd have more of a ground combat vehicle. If you put the anti-air one in, you'd have more of a support vehicle that could take down ships in the air, but also support ground troops by making sure that they weren't taken out by air vehicles. The recon version, we wanted to have a scanner that would allow you to map terrain and store all of that data, also allowing you to place beacons and kind of make landing zones or mark targets or something like that. The racing version, we just wanted to give it a boost, kind of like an afterburner or a nitrous boost, kind of give it the fastest speeds and better tuning. It is one of the fastest vehicles, wheeled vehicles that we have. The Nox is faster than it, but it's got that gravlev technology. But yeah, it's pretty fun, and it's also quite maneuverable. The four-wheel turning and the four-wheel drive gives it speed and turning radius.
Right now, I just finished with the gray box art, and I'm moving into final art. So I'm applying a lot of palms and decals and stuff like that, and doing material work. But the final mesh is basically done. From me, it goes to design and animation. Design will be controlling, actually it's pretty much set up for design, at least the white box is, but they'll be fine tuning it and getting it to drive the way that they want it to and feel the right, have the right feel. Animation will be getting the shocks to work and the characters to get in and out of it and looking nice, you know, and then of course sound will take a pass at it, and then tech art and effects will make it blow up and look pretty exploding.
They should have a lot of fun, you know. This vehicle's, you know, it's got quite a few sort of interesting features. It's got some unique styling, you know. We've tried to push, you know, sort of push on sort of new materials. It's an external frame, and then everything is sort of bolted onto the interior of it, or bolted onto the side. So it's kind of got an exoskeleton, and then we sort of push for 3D printed sort of materials in there. I think it'll be interesting to see what players do with it.
It's pretty fun to drive around right now, and we're going into gray box, so we're actually going to create the geometry for it based on what we had for the white box, and it's looking pretty good. I think some of the issues that we're running into with it is the modularity, so actually having to swap out stuff, being able to control that thing through item 2.0, having missiles fire with the pilot controlling the missiles and then actually aiming the missiles. then like swapping out all the other modules and how that's going to work. We also wanted this open suspension on the vehicle, and I think the suspension that we had on the Rover and the Gray Cat wasn't as articulated or detailed as what we want on the Cyclone. We have to go back and kind of change how we're doing our suspension parts and maybe add a few more options to that to get it looking as cool as we can.
I can't wait for the mounted gun attachment on the back. I feel like that will make it like your typical FPS like Jeep vehicle, and that's gonna be really fun, having somebody in the back on the turret, you know, having somebody riding shotgun and just like tearing up planets. I think that's what's gonna make the Tumbril special. You know, the Cyclone, Tumbril Cyclone.
Okay, I'm going to start with LM on this one. LM, do you own a Tumbril Cyclone? If so, which one? And if you don't, which one would you get? And why do you have it?
I don't own them. The ones in my inventory are loaners, and so far, I've only gotten them out for Atmo Esports events. But I do enjoy them. I think it's a toss-up between the TR to get the third seat in the turret and the RC. I've gotten to fall in love with the RC, but I gotta say, compared to the other stuff we were looking at, man, these look so medieval compared to everything else we were talking about today. Like, oh wow, unique like bikes, unique canopies. Look at that Jeep.
It looks like something you could have today.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, Admiral Kusanagi was already in the chat talking about this old technology, you know, in the game with the lore. You know, and I mean, the Tumbrils, I will say this, you're right, LM. I mean, the Tumbrils, when they first came out, we were all like, wow, this is so great. But then when you look at them, and he was just mentioning on Friday when we were talking about the show, Kimmy will remember this, we were talking about this whole Gravlev thing. You know, is the technology in the future still going to have this mechanical type of thing going on still? And I always have to say, well, hopefully CIG is going to unfold something that helps bring this around to making sense. I know for sure. I know for sure when we start getting into theaters of war, there's going to be reasons why there are vehicles that are treaded or why they have wheels. It's got to be. There just has to be some reason. Maybe they just want to mix a little bit of both in the world. But that whole mechanical thing, we can get into technology on a whole nother conversation. Kimmy, what about you? Do you own any Tumbrils? And if so, which one? And if not, which one would you get?
Man, I saw this coming a long time ago, so I turned those things into LTI tokens, man.
Okay.
Pretty much, I saw that the handwriting was on the wall, but as far as like doing, like you said, Griff, military operations and something like environment, where you have org versus org type of deal, that the recon or using the radar on that thing to do reconnaissance, and to LM's point about the racer variant, you can, based on what they're doing now, it resurges and bring life to this old tech by using it to race, literally. But it kind of makes me wonder now. Do you, if for the owners of the turret version, do you kind of forego that and get a recon version, and hopefully now that they're bringing the advent of the mounted gun technology, you have the reconnaissance technology now with the mounted gun, so it kind of nerfs it originally. So I wonder how that's going to play out. But yeah, again, it's fun to drive, but as far as the capabilities, like to your point, Griff, with all the new features of other vehicles trumping this over, and just like, okay, LTI token. It turned into LTI token for me.
Fair enough. FC, what about you? Do you own one? And if not, which one would you get?
I own some Tumbril, like the manufacturer, but I don't have any Cyclone. And I was watching this video, and I was looking at the website for the upgrade, and the base Cyclone is 55, the TR, RC, and the RN are all 65, and the AA is $80. I'm of the opinion, like normally I'm of the opinion like more is better, having more options is better, but in this case, I'm thinking that maybe they could shrink that down to 3 vehicles instead of having 5. Like maybe instead of like combine the racer and the recon into one vehicle, or maybe make the turret the base model or something like that. But yeah,
Yeah, I think the first one I bought on here was the reconnaissance one. I think that's the RN. I bought that one because I wanted to have the scanning capability, and they alluded to the fact that this will be able to do handling topography, scanning for things and recording that data. So if you are doing some type of reconnaissance, whether it is to locate other homesteads, bases, whatever they are, hopefully the scanning capability will be the way you could do that. And of course, that data is valuable to an org, or maybe data that you can sell. So that was the thing I went with that. As far as I know, does the AA version, in chat, maybe you have to help this in case none of us know, does the AA version work of this? I know the turret does. Does the AA version, the anti-aircraft one, does that one work?
Because I've never even put mine out.
I've never seen anybody ever cut a video with it working. LDoc says yes. Okay, LDoc, is it working in the sense of it really works like well, or is it working like the ballista working? Is it like, does it really work? Okay, Jade says, yeah, it works. Okay, weirdly enough, I've never seen any videos with anybody ever shooting down aircraft with one. So maybe I'll have to go in and they're size 1s. Okay, pea shooters, they don't do much. Okay, all right, so that is good to know. Okay.
So are they supposed to shoot down the X1s?
Well, I mean,
I don't get the Nox.
I mean, in the advertising, they show them using it as an AA, as an anti-aircraft weapon. So that's the reason why I was asking. I've seen people use a whole lot of things to, the rail gun, a whole bunch to take out ships. I've never seen anybody use one of the Tumbrils to do it, and that's why I was kind of curious as to whether or not it was actually working.
Between this or the Rover, I would get like a Rover with turrets on it instead, but I don't know.
Well, here's the deal, right? I mean, if you're out on patrol, like if you're at a base, right, and somebody's flying in and you've got a couple of those, I mean, I'm just picking a scenario. You got a C2 and you drop off some of these vehicles around an area where you've got some people doing some stuff. I mean, these guys could be hidden by the rocks, and anybody who's coming into land gets nailed by one of these things. If the missile, now what Chad is saying is that the missiles suck. They're saying that they don't do squat. Okay, so I don't know if that's because of the type of missiles on, or whether you can upgrade it or not. And then Envoy says use a ballista instead. But those are anti-aircraft weapons supposedly. That's the reason why I'm asking about them versus them being used in ground to ground. Now, if they can be used ground to ground, that maybe makes a little bit more sense. But I was just wondering if you guys knew. Okay.
Hey, real quick, this just the context of this conversation, it opens up, and hopefully Sig will see this, but it opens up the conversation of the legacy vehicles that we run into, and that in order to keep it functional or up to date in the sense of where the newer tech is going. I think modularity opens that narrative to say, okay, with this Tumbril, can we attach something like the tech that they're using now, as opposed to a push cart? Can we attach a cart or trailer that will allow us to drive down the village and load up cargo on it and drive it back, or other components that have modularity to change functionality for these types of vehicles? That would be a case point for SIG to say, well, we want to keep these vehicles that we have functional and useful, and that we want people to continue to buy them. So I truly believe that modularity going forward, looking at all these vehicles and saying, okay, what are the lowest performers, or what are these legacy vehicles? We can apply modularity to it to bring that functionality back and that interest back to these vehicles.
Good point. Okay. All right, let's check out the next one then. This is going right back to Tumbril for another round. Again, no video because this is something that's still concept. And this is the Tumbril Rangers. Let me start with fastcart this time around. FC, do you own a Ranger? Basically a motorcycle.
This is one of the few packs that I bought all three of. No, probably only one pack that I ever bought all three of. I love the concept. I love the brochure that came with it. The RC is red, so it has to go faster. And I'm looking at the prices real quick. According to the site, the Ranger RC is $35, the CV, the cargo is a touring is $35, and the TR is $40. I turned my TR into a 315P with some custom on it, so I only have the racer and the touring at the moment. But I like the concept. I like the wheels. I don't have, like I said, I don't have the other Tumbril, but it looked, for me, it looked to feel better to be on a bicycle than on a four wheel thing. So.
Okay. Well, I know what surprised me when we were at IAE and they had the hologram for this bike. This bike it's bigger than it looks. It's really, really large. The wheels on it are very, very large. It's almost like a chopper wheels. I mean, it's really, really big. LM, I'm going to throw a question at you here. What do we see as a purpose for a bike like this, right? When we've got a Yellow Jacket or a Dragonfly or a Nox, what's the point of having this mechanical wheeled vehicle in the game? Is there any real reason to do that?
I think in those arguments, it's like in real life, right? We can have people with Lamborghinis and Teslas on the road. We have people with Pontiac Firebirds on the road. Like things will persist throughout centuries as they have these different brands and manufacturers. So I'm a fan of seeing all the mechanical wheeled treaded vehicles in addition to the hollow grav lev, you know, like the Nomad came out and it doesn't touch the ground when it lands, you know, and they're experimenting with that technology as a game developer too. But in terms of like, what is the function of a unprotected, you know, motorcycle that I'm just so worried about it tipping over? Someone who has braved the Tamar Rally and mountains and tipping and flipping. Yes, but as someone who played the 1995 CD of motocross on Windows 98, and it's like, are we popping wheelies? How's that working?
I don't know about you.
I'm a little worried about the technology behind it, but I think where I see this, its natural setting of like, where would people use this the most? If we had an urban environment with roads, I could see it. If there's, you know, you can't fly a ship, if there's bridges or lots of overhead or other commercial traffic, and, you know, a car might be kind of too big, you don't want to get stuck in traffic, right? You switch to a motorcycle. So I think if there's an urban environment where people need to get from place to place, that's kind of where I see this. But like, I can't really see it. It's so unprotected. Like, I can't see it on the surface somewhere. Okay. With the uneven surfaces, it's just prone to tipping. Okay. Kimmy, will there be?
Oh my God, Master! Yes.
What did Master say? Gonna name? Oh my God, Akira. That's funny. Kimmy, will there be biker gangs? I mean, because no, I'm serious. Because LM says something. Yeah, LM said something. She said that there are things that are put in the game because of different things that people want. In other words, maybe it's not about practicality. Maybe it actually is about aesthetics and people who want the cool factor of riding a bike in town. You know what I mean? Will there be biker gangs?
It's vintage, right?
Yeah. Well, to LM's point, she had me think of when she said that. Urban area, and I immediately resonated that to our corp, where we're going to see it built out where we can walk around and you have an urban sprawl, and I would suspect that we have some system of roads, especially with the homesteads and apartments that will be a part of our corp. So and then to your point, Griff, you brought a real good point to that conversation with the fact that gangs. Hell yeah, we're gonna see gangs. NPC gangs. We better. Now that you mentioned it, I want to see that.
Yeah. I mean, I was just
coming to point. I just want to say, where we're going, we don't need roads. Let's go on a tumble.
Well, see, that's interesting because that's been a subject, because CIG has told us about roads being in the game. And so it is this dynamic of what will happen, whether it be within the urban landscape. I mean, the wheels for this bike they mentioned that these are identical to the type of wheels that are on the Tumbril 4-wheel vehicles, the Cyclones. And these wheels are designed for a variety of different type of terrain to kick in. So I wouldn't be surprised, Kimmy, like you said, a homestead, right? And an NPC biker gang that rolls in. I mean, I see some renegade folks that would love being able to use bikes like this. It'll be interesting to see,
They're living in
where
caves,
it goes.
but what is that? Compartmentalized. Basically, you have some gamers, man. Every inch is money to them. When you're talking about being able to store cargo, whatever it is in their ship, so the need is there for that type of vehicle where it's narrow, it can get it, you can push it in the corner, and that's more space for them to load more stuff, as opposed to actually having a Ursa Rover instead. So they're looking at, well, how does this affect my bottom line?
Okay.
So yeah, I need that bike so I have more space to work with and move stuff around in my ship that I'm going to travel here and there too. So
okay, cool.
You have those gamers out there like that.
Okay. All right, let's jump to the next one. And this is another one with just some images here.
I'll be back.
And it's the right.
No.
Let's start here. And let's start out with LM on this
Is this
one.
Origin?
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead and talk about this one.
I'll be right back.
All right, LM, give us your thoughts on the G12, your feelings about the Origins version of four-wheel vehicles.
I'm excited about it. I did buy the 3-pack. I'm not sure if I'm going to use one or a couple of them as tokens. I kind of want to wait and see until it comes out to see what the use is. And yeah, we see the pictures there of the lift, or they were on the screen earlier. So the one thing that the Ursa has over these is, like we were talking about, that combined area where people can walk in and step and live. And the Origin G12s just have the seats in the front. The cargo area is separate. Obviously, with the AA, it's taken up by the AA. For the EMP, that space is taken up by the EMP. But I'm excited for the compromise of speed and armor. A little faster than the Ursa, but slower than the Cyclones. Yeah, I'm just excited to see what the speed possibilities could be there. And also with the cargo lift, could somebody squat in there and kind of be like a surprise if someone tried to capture one of the G12s, if someone was squatting in there with a gun set up? I was wondering if we could, the theoretical throw someone in the trunk type of deal. I wonder if that'll work.
Yeah. Kimmy, how about you? G12. Any thoughts? Do you own one?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that what you want to hear?
No. Just wondering if you own one. That's all.
Oh no, I do.
Okay. Which one? Is there any particular one?
It's the black.
The black. Okay.
And at one point, it was to match up with my Cutlass Black until I upgraded that to the Cutlass Blue. So at some point, I may go back and look at the Cutlass Black. But yeah, that kind of capability, you can fire back at someone, protect yourself, and wheelbase, it attracted me to that particular vehicle. But definitely, again, going back to LM's point, you can actually, depending on where we're going to go after this year with Star Citizen, when we talk about the planetary tech really building things out, literally, I can see this in the Area 18 on the street, driving back and forth in an urban area with people populated, walking across the street like just like a basic city, a sci-fi city. And then let's bring up Terra, the same thing. You see these G12s driving all over the street with people, NPCs and people driving in it. Why not?
That's a good point. Fastcart, what do you think about the G12?
I don't own one. I'm looking at the prices. It's the $60. The base is $60. The R is $60, and the A is $65. The A is the racing, and the A is combat. The R is racing, and the base is just the pay. But I'm looking at the picture. They look at them. They're over-engineered. They're too wide, and the back axle, or whatever you want to call it, look like they'll break at the slightest contact. Who would want one of these?
Me.
Griff, Tip Sigma.
Yeah, I will.
I got one. So
yeah, I will say this. I was actually surprised to see this, and I was a little concerned because one of the vehicles that we mentioned earlier was that the Lynx was supposed to be another vehicle. And I was a little concerned about whether or not this was going to become that replacement vehicle for it when it first came out. And this is before they told us it was a G12. We just saw the pictures for it. I said, well, maybe that's what they're going to use, mostly because of the size of it. Unlike the other vehicles, it's hard for me to see this vehicle as being a rough terrain vehicle, even though in the images they do show the blue one, the racer, like looks like it's on like a muddy area or something like that. But because of the design, this has much more of an urban feel to me more than anything, or it just can't be. I wouldn't put this against a Tumbril. Maybe that's what I'm saying. Now, weirdly enough, if I'm remembering correctly, somebody tell me if I got this right on the specs. One of these vehicles has an EMP in it, if I'm not mistaken.
The racing. I think like fastcart was talking earlier with the Tumbril variants, like, well, one is the EMP and one is the racing, and this combines them both in the racing G12.
Yep. So that was another.
Listen to me for once.
So that was an interesting factor for this one. Someone talked about the cool factor of the black. I agree. The black looks amazing. Again, go ahead, fastcart.
Even though I gave it crap, I do like the look of it. It's just not for me, but they look sleek, and I may get one just to have in my hangar to look at. I'm gonna pay cash. I'll probably get UEC for it, but they do look nice. I give it that much.
There's one fact that you're running around at night with this particular vehicle. It's pretty good in the sense that it kind of hides you from things, and you're not as noticed from a strategy point of view.
Well, I was looking at also the images that they use for concept for it, and I'm going to get past this one now. Is the fact that particularly the one with the missiles on it, it's in an urban landscape where they're doing that. It's not out in the field somewhere or in combat zones. So that's again why I said this vehicle. I'm really curious to see, where it's going to go. The base, I've got the base, and I think I do have the black one. I didn't buy the racer. But again, for some people,
got the triple pack.
No, I don't. Honestly, to be honest with you, if it's not something, I don't have any racing anything. To be honest with you, racing's not my thing. So even if it's in a good deal like that, where almost like you can get it for free, I usually just don't get it, so I stay away from it. Okay, let's jump on now. We're going to step from, we've been talking about these bikes and whatnot, but now we're going to move into a different area.
Oh boy.
I haven't seen this in a while.
First time I saw this was today. A good concept for a commercial.
Yeah, they do good work.
Yeah, it is amazing, though, the commercials.
I mean, how dare they do that to the Eclipse, though? I love the Eclipse.
You don't clip the Eclipse.
Your targets will never know what hit them. The ballista from Anvil. Rise above.
Okay, let's do some talking about that thing. The ballista's been out for a little while now, and when it first came out, people were really excited about it. They jumped in it and wanted to go out and do all this great stuff with it. It works sometimes. Have any of you all, Kimmy, have you been in a ballista? Have you ever taken one out and used it?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yes,
what was your experience with it?
It was a little touch and go with the functionality, but I see what they're attempting and what they're going after as far as this vehicle. It's military specific though. Definitely, you want to use that in the org, and if there's a thing where you're providing security against piracy, NPCs or whatnot, I think when you're coming in with this particular vehicle, you're coming in with numbers, and you're really pushing back hard against something that maybe has set itself in a certain location, and there's an escalation or build-up to mitigate that blockade or that bottleneck or whatever it is. And so I think you're called upon with this type of vehicle to just break it down and just like eliminate it, flatline it, so things can keep moving like the economy system. So I would see where you would have an attempt of people amassed to see if they can lock down areas doing crazy things. And so this would be the result of why they would commission someone with this type of vehicle to go in and break up the madness.
Okay. FC, what about you? You ever been in one of these ballistas before?
I have not. I was just looking on the website for the prices. There are 3 variants. The base is, they're all 140. The base, the Snowbound, and Doomstalker. I guess they're all different skins.
It's just the skins. Yeah, just a skin difference. That's it. Yeah.
Okay,
let me
so
ask.
All 140.
So is this something?
That's a lot of money for a ground vehicle, but hey, for what it does, some people think it's worth it, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's not for me.
Well, since you've got the specs up for it, I don't know if anybody has the specs, but if I'm remembering correctly, I think this has size 7, 2 size 7s, and somebody correct me in chat if I'm wrong, because there's like 4 or 5 smaller missiles on there, and then there's like 2 big ones. They're either size 5s and size 3s or size 7s and 4s. Does anybody remember what it is?
I'm looking at it now.
Admiral Kusanagi says the rest are size 5s. Yeah.
Okay.
And so let me ask you, LM, to Kimmy's point, can you see organizations, once we start having places like homesteads or bases, people are building bases, do you think orgs will actually have people who literally just, part of their tour of duty is to sit in one of these suckers and kind of keep an eye on the skies? Or is it just strictly going to be something that people will just break out for combat reasons and otherwise they'll be parked? I mean, will they have more functionality than just combat, or is it part of the routine of playing the game?
I can only see this as an orgs like Overwatch type of deal, to Kemi's point, mostly because of the barriers to entry to get it anywhere. The only time I've ever experienced the ballista was, I believe, at Invictus in the little the showroom hall where you could walk around it. And all I remember is like, whoa, this thing is really big. And I mean, for now, in game, I think you can only summon it at like one place, right? Like the Microtech pad. There was like a bug or something where I know there was some issues. Like not a lot of people have been in one or seen one because it's not easy to get up. And then, do you have a ship that's big enough to put it somewhere?
Right.
I don't think a lot of people have really experienced it. And then, of course, after that step, like tested it out. I mean, but it's beefy with those sizes of missiles. That packs a punch. It's just, I think it's kind of hard to get it where it needs to be, unless you're in an org. That's not the only circumstance.
Admiral Kusanagi gave us the specs. Admiral Kusanagi gave us the specs here: 8 size 5s and 2 size 7s. So that it does pack a lot of power. Honestly, that's pretty serious. I know Colossal. I don't know if you're in chat or not, but Colossal went out and did a test with this thing one time. And I forget what the range was supposed to be, but he told me they popped somebody at 10 or 20. It was either 10, 15, or 20 kilometers out. It was some extreme distance that this thing took an aircraft out at. And to XKYT, Xkite's point, for these next 2 vehicles that we're talking about, I think that, to your mentioning, LM, that once the C2 and the M2 come out, that's when we will start seeing these vehicles roll out. And we're going to talk about what's going to be the impact of that in game once, because you're right, without those ships, the mobility in bringing these out is a whole nother factor. Were you going to say, FC?
I just want to say, can you imagine the cost of reloading the ammo on this thing?
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be another factor. I mean, we've been talking about this for weeks now. Operational costs on stuff. Right now, it's not a big deal to just go back and spawn stuff. But eventually, when the real prices come out for a size 7, when you push that button, you better make sure that you're ready to hit something for real. You're not going to be just spamming these missiles. Not at all. You going to say, Kimmy?
I'm gonna have to put my ammo on layaway or something.
I'm hoping that it'll pull in the thirsty dogfighting PvPers who want to just fight something. So that might be a match made in heaven.
Yeah, it might
those
be.
2 entities.
It might be, and when we get past this next session, we'll start talking about what is the real impact of it. But pardon the expression. Okay, let's take a look at our last vehicle of the night here.
So the Tumbril Nova, this is our first sort of trip into looking at large military vehicles, land-based vehicles. So this is the heavy tank.
It's a really big tank. It's bigger than many tanks I think exist right now. This is like a 12 meters long, 5 meters tall, 9 meters wide tank. So this is pretty big. This allows the player to stand upright in the tank. He won't have to crouch or to have some weird stance like in the Rover or some other vehicles.
So this is built by Tumbril, which is a relatively new company in terms of the sort of art style that we've been working with. And this is the large battle tank basically. So this is like the size of a small British house.
Tumbril apparently has been making tanks, military hardware a long time ago. We've introduced it with the Cyclone, and at the time I think we've teased that it did tanks in the past, and this is, well, one of their best designs. This is a super heavy tank. It's really well armed, really well protected as well, and yeah, it's obviously good against other ground vehicles, but also made to be able to defend itself against spaceships if needed. We got 3 different weapons on the Nova tank. We got a big ballistic cannon at the front, like most tanks, where basically you can't fire. It's made for ground vehicles because it will be probably too slow to track spaceships and stuff like this. We got 2 laser repeaters, which is basically the same loadout that on the Rover or most turrets or stuff like this. And then we got a new kind of missiles that is on the tank and that is made to defend itself against the ships. It has also some countermeasures, but this is more like if you get a missile alert from a spaceship, you can defend yourself against this. But yeah, this is just basic defense.
And it's sort of a modular, modular construction, so we're going to be able to swap out the main turret for different abilities. The modularity mainly is in just the 2 sections. So you've got the main turret and then the body. So the body is the sort of the main rolling chassis. We can swap that out. Maybe that you have 2 huge rail guns. Maybe you've got anti-aircraft. Maybe it's like just a whole salvo of missiles. I guess that's to be sort of worked on and figured out as part of the whole gameplay experience. And in terms of construction, it's quite, there are similarities with the buggy, with the Cyclone. The Cyclone was the first of the Tumbril vehicles, and that one had a very sort of signature sort of exoskeleton almost. Like you had a framework that was very visible that ran around, and then everything was sort of bolted onto it. Obviously with a tank, you want it to be heavy, you want it to feel robust. So that frame isn't visible from the exterior, but it is from the interior. So a lot of the sort of line work and design theory is more visible on the interior. So again, it's got that sort of almost modular feeling. So like if you wanted to repair it, you could just swap parts out and bolt them back in.
The exterior is a bit special. We wanted to show that, well, this is an heavy tank, so it have a big armor plate. The turret is separated from the body, so the gunner is not going inside the turret like in some tanks that we know actually the gunner might be close to the turret. This is not the case here. The gunner is in a separate room. That is under the turret but not linked to the turret. At the front there's a driver and a gunner that works on other systems. There is enough space inside to take care of the components, like if a component starts to overheat or whatever, you can repair it or change it while you're inside the tank. There is an external door that is at the rear. You got a mini ramp and basically a door. This is a relatively easy entry point. This is not like tanks where you have to go from the top or this kind of stuff. On the side of the tank there's also side skirts, protection side skirts that will be linked to suspension, so if you move, the side skirt obviously won't stay at the same position. It will move, it will rise up with the suspension of the tracks.
We haven't gone wild with this. It's more of a natural progression. Tumbril isn't a wild manufacturer, so we've sort of tried to keep it in fiction. And so, you look at it, it is pretty solid, but it's not, it's not full of trinkets. It's, it hasn't got reactive armor plastered all over the sides. This thing has a shield, so we don't need to worry about that. It has got obviously in terms of its construction, it looks solid, weighty, like it could take a hit even if your shield goes down. But beyond that, it's relatively straightforward, I guess. It's got countermeasures. It's got some anti-personnel guns on it. It's got its main barrel, which I think is an S4, and then some like a salvo of missiles, basically for aircraft, etc. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I think that's going to give you a good shot at staying alive. And if there's a few of you in these things, then it should be pretty imposing. Sort of looking forward to the day when players are playing the game and you're on one of the moons or one of the planets and you're sort of looking at the horizon, and then this whole battalion sort of starts creeping over. I think that's going to be, that's kind of like a classic World War II moment, isn't it? Sort of Sahara-based kind of thing. I mean, it's going to happen in all sorts of worlds, isn't it? Different. You're going to have cold moons. You're going to have Sahara, sandy desert. You're going to, I guess, ultimately in the future, we're going to have foliage and all that. Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty cool.
Every kind of player
Mass styles, you're awesome.
Because, well, this is a must-have. In a game, if you can't make a tank, obviously you need to make a tank at some point. And many players want a tank, but I think many developers wanted a tank as well. So we're really happy and really excited about working on a tank, because this is not like a simple rover or a cyclone or a bike or whatever. This is where you got a big tank, big protection, big guns. And hopefully we will get big explosions from that as well.
Inspiration-wise, obviously we're pulling from the Tumbril work that we did on the Cyclone and continuing to push on that. I mean, I've said it again. For me, it's always the time. It's the timelines that are tricky. So, there's a lot of stuff that you want to cover and you want to try and figure out. You don't necessarily have all the time. So that's why I sort of see this as our sort of entry into this side of things, and we'll continue pushing it. We'll continue pushing materials and sort of working on that Tumbril manufacturer influence. In terms of real world reference, that's the beauty of the internet, right? In terms of, there's no shortage of information on tanks, APCs, futuristic, old school stuff. And it's just sort of picking what works best for Star Citizen in terms of our influences, and then sort of, okay, well, that's cool, but how do we advance that? How do we move it forward? How do we make this tank look like it's not built in 5 years' time? People still want it, everybody knows what a tank should look like, so it's kind of, you're always treading that line of sort of providing what people want to see in terms of traditional sense. And then I think, if we want to do the wilder stuff, that's when we start using other manufacturers. That's when we can really sort of start pushing out of the bounds of what people expect a tank to be.
I really like tanks, so I'm really happy to be on the first tank of the game. So this is a super heavy tank. I think if we make other tanks later on, it will probably be smaller after that and probably closer to what we have, where you don't really have a real interior to the tank. You get from the top, you get inside and you're on your seat. Whereas this one is a really big tank. You get inside, you walk inside, you can change the components, you can go see if the other crew member is fine, or just open the door on fire through the door, this kind of stuff. So yeah, this is not your usual kind of tank in games, and this is not your usual kind of tank that you could see in real life as well, unless you are talking about some crazy prototypes that never came out or whatever. So yeah, this is really cool. And the name is nice as well, Tumbril Nova. So I think we got some really interesting lore about the tank as well. We get some proper ground vehicles on that. The tank is coming this soon into the game. This will be really, really nice for every kind of situation, as I said, like if you want to attack a base or if you want to do a surprise to some players or defend yourself against ships, this will be really nice. Like there's every kind of situation that has been planned, outside obviously of falling from space or going into the water or this kind of stuff.
So pretty much now we're at the point where we're wrapping up concept art, which I always really enjoy, and I think, you know, we're sort of really pushing on sort of stories that we're trying to tell in our promotional images these days. We've sort of leveled up in the last sort of 6 months, I would say. You know, we'll go back through design, make sure that we have hit all the beats, and then with any feedback from the community we can tackle, and then hopefully there'll be a seamless experience.
Okay, so LM, Paul says that this thing is the size of a small house. What do you think about that in the sense of, you know, that vehicle being so large? It is a 3-person unit. What do you think about that as far as it bringing this into the game now? This is probably the largest 4-wheel vehicle that we have. Probably it's bigger than a ballista.
And obviously the community has passion for it, so I think we'll see it a lot more than the ballista, at least this first iteration, but we have yet to see the cost of operation. It looks very expensive. But the thing I'm most excited about is I hope it necessitates 3-person. Like in a traditional tank operation, you have someone who is kind of like in the high chair, you know, the captain, director of the tank, and someone is saying, hey, you move it, you move the gun. I hope that they make that a necessity to have that type of gameplay. Because that would just be neat. Instead of just, you know, one person trying to run an entire, you know, artillery machine. Like that's not viable. And that's not what it's meant for. It's not Star Citizen's not a single player game, so I hope to see, and I hope to see tank brigades seriously defending a place. Like that would be terrifying as a dogfighter. Like that would be awesome. So I hope it adds those elements in there.
Okay, let me give a shout out to 19John76. John, I saw you when you came in earlier. Please forgive me for not saying thank you for the follow. We appreciate that. And Mad Style, you gave us 2 more bits, so there's a total of 1,000 bits on top of what you gave earlier, the 600. So as always, Mad Style, thank you for the bits as always. Kemi, LM kind of led into what I was going to ask. Was I going to present to you is that fact that this is actually a multi-crewed vehicle. If you look at the layout, you look at the brochure on it, it is designed to have a driver. It is designed to have somebody else who's aiming that main cannon. And as was mentioned, Mad Style. Oh my God. Mad Style, thank you for another 500 bits.
Mad Style.
Mad Style is helping pay for that endeavor, y'all. I want you to know that he is truly helping pay for the endeavor.
He's awesome.
So Kemi, they mentioned the loadout on this. There's the main gun, right? Then they mentioned the fact that you've got 2 laser repeaters, but then they talked about having this missile launcher in the back to help defend against if the tank is being fired upon. What do you think about that as far as its defensive and offensive capability?
Yeah, you all make great points about the Tumbril. The fact that SIG is not just going to have you play like the typical tank game, which you know that's a big fan base on those or that kind of gameplay, like the old school Atari with the vector graphics, and you're with the tank, and you go further back with the Atari a tank 2600.
Back
you
up.
know, it initiated all of that. What that was all about.
Man, you make me feel old.
Nostalgic. We all know, man. But yeah, it's that compelling gameplay, and Love Machine really dissected the fact that, you know, it's not so much that they're stressing that you gotta do this, you know, you gotta play with someone, but it's so much better and more fulfilling when you play with other players, and that kind of randomness and that adventure unfolds. So it's going to be really cool as to, you know, SIG really laying out these details and how we interact and make it work. And all key personnel will be essential to make it very successful. So you have that connected gameplay with everyone, and then how does it translate to your interactions out in the world or the sci-fi world? So that's going to be a lot of fun because they're not going to hold back on the details and us interacting to make it work. But I definitely see, this being used in some areas going forward, like the Vandal territories. They're not. SIG doesn't put things out there unless they let it sit. So I can see operations being, spearheaded to go to maybe one of the planets and, all these C2s, M2s, whatnot, unload these tanks and they just go at it.
Okay.
And it's going to be some really cool things to do like that.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. FC, earlier I was talking about the multiplayer aspect of being able to use these tanks. And I know a lot of people bought them, right? I was a little bit worried about when people bought them, that were they thinking about the fact that tanks are very rarely, there's, Kimmy mentioned this a few minutes ago, World of Tanks, right? Everybody goes and plays World of Tanks because you can be one person and control a tank. But that's not the way this tank is going to operate. It's not going to be where you're going to be. You can drive it around, but you can't, drive and run into that compartment that's behind you and start doing aiming. And it'll be kind of crazy, right? Do you think that there will be a little bit of buyer's remorse? Like some people may actually, because they can't do that one woman kind of fighting, that they'll say, oh man, I thought I could use this thing by, myself, and I really can't.
If they're going to have buyer's remorse, if they get it, the concept sale, we should have the LTI so they can use it as a token to buy something more expensive. So
okay.
And other than that, I just want to go from spec first. This is $105. There's only one model, just the base model, and I'm looking at the specs on it. It has 2x2 TBC energy repeater, 4 TBC ballistic cannon, and 2x2 missile TBC. It has 12, and this is updated as 1 year ago. So,
okay.
Real quick, the fact that what you said, Griff, I could go with that about buyer's remorse. If this was any other game or community, but knowing what this community is about, game on.
Okay.
Game on. They're gonna have fun.
Okay.
This community is something special, and they're not gonna have problems with meeting up, interacting, and having that fun with other people in with this particular game and these people that are community members. Okay. It's something special about all of this.
And SIG will make a place for it, like they do everything else they make. Everything has a place, and a place for everything in the universe.
Yes.
FC? I just want to say, Alan mentioned brigade, the tank brigade. I think, and Griffin mentioned this before, but I think some people will try to turn this into World of Tank Citizen.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would like to see it.
But it goes back to NPCs too, right?
That is true.
Well, see, but I was going to say that Lanik mentions here blades for turrets all around, and I know. Here's the thing about blades, guys, and Chris talked about blades. Blades will never operate at the level of human person. That's one thing. They're even NPCs. So don't get me wrong. To have blades is going to be important because let's say you are 3 people in that tank, and let's say that something happens where one of the people in the tank gets injured or killed.
And there's 2.
Then great to have that blade there that you can replace that person temporarily until you get wherever you're going to go. So they do have a place in the game. But I want to make sure that people don't think that, putting a blade in is the way to say, this is how I'm going to operate my tank. I'm just going to put blades all in and I'm going to drive it around by myself. That you're going to, the AI for that against other human players may not be as much as you may think it is. So just be aware, be aware of that, because Chris is very particular about us. I think either Kimmy or Ellen was mentioning, he's very particular about wanting to have interaction with players, and if this all could be just an automated game, he's not shooting for that. FC, what were you going to say?
I just have a quick question. Like no tread, I do love the tread. It's like old school, look like a regular tank except it's a tank. But do you think there will be other vehicles with those treads on them in the future?
I mean, who knows? I mean, they're nowhere near seeing all we're going to see with vehicles. I mean, even before the show, before the show, we were talking about the fact that even with theaters of war, this vehicle was not in there when they were doing the testing for it. And we know that this is included in 3.13. And I was going to mention, and I'm just asking everybody on the panel, do you guys think we will see a commercial coming up soon for this? Because we know that Nova Tank is to be released within this next quarter. Are we looking for a commercial that's going to kind of help hype this a little bit more when it comes to sales in the game? And XG Host 007, thank you for the follow. Thank you for the follow. Don't forget, guys, we're looking for our anniversary next week. We're looking for 1,000 followers. We're at 823, so we only have another 177 to go. So if you're not following us, follow, please. Go ahead, FC.
I don't know if we're going to get a commercial for it. I mean, I may not specifically for the Tonk. We may get a generalized commercial for 3.13 as a whole. And it might feature the Tonk inside the commercial, but not specifically, especially for the Tonk itself.
Okay, Soltor, thank you for the follow. Thank you for the follow, Soltor. So you don't think there'll be a commercial, huh? You think they're going to miss that window of opportunity to break in another $500,000, huh? You think they're going to let it go?
No, not that. I think whether or not they have a commercial or not is independent of how much money they'll make. Because people who want this thing will get it regardless of the commercial or not, in my opinion. Because I mean, I think it's so specialized. It has a unique situation or use case that it's limited by itself in that manner. So they may decide we're not going to do a commercial for this because it's so limited use. We're going to do a generalized one for 3.1.
Okay. Well, Xylo's here. So Xylo, we want a commercial for the Tonk. Okay, we're giving you a heads up now. Okay.
So he said Xylo wants a snowmobile.
Right.
Fastcart's point about the tread, but I looked over and saw his comment about that. I said, oh, okay, that's cool. But when FC said that, he made me think about the movie Private Ryan, those amphibious vehicles, and they're Xylo, you listening? We're already talking about vehicles that could float over or float on top of the water. So imagine that type of vehicle, the amphibious vehicle, will float, and then when they get to the beach, all of a sudden it's coming out of the water, and you see those treads going over terrain. So I don't know, man.
So he's talking about the Wisconsin Ducks, basically, is what you want to have in the game. But okay, that's fine. All right, let's. We're going to wrap this up because we do want to talk about something else. This was really great stuff. Yeah, go ahead, FC.
Real quick, Griffin. Before you move on, we did forget one vehicle, and they covered this in just this past the last ISC. That little not trolley, but the dolly thing.
We covered it Friday. We covered it Friday. Oh, so we did talk about it.
It's a vehicle and it's a ground vehicle.
No, so it is not a vehicle. It's not powered.
If you use the tractor beam, it's a trailer.
And I already have 10 segments signed up to push me along.
First of all,
to push me whenever I want to ride. So hey,
it needs an engine.
First of all, you're about to get some people really upset talking about that cart. All right, we had a long 30-minute argument Friday about will wheels be really around 900 years from now. So I don't even want to get into it. Okay,
we're taking that cart off of your name. You're fast.
You're just fast, right? Just take cart.
Cart is gone. You're just fast.
Okay, listen, we want to move into this next segment because we want to spend some time. One of the other good reasons why it's nice to have Love Machine here is to talk about the upcoming race. We just got finished with the Daymar Rally, but many of you guys know that they've been already qualifying for another race called the Stanton 7, where there's 7 different locations and they use different vehicles that are in Star Citizen to accomplish each of the races. So let's take a quick look at the trailer for that, and then she's going to talk about it just for a hot second. Okay, so here we go.
Esports and the Bad Token Race Club are proud to bring you a championship event like no other. The Stanton 7. This exciting rally circuit pays homage to Earth's classic rally and Formula One traditions, pushing drivers and their teams to their absolute limit across some of the toughest terrains Stanton has to offer. Qualifying teams will push through 7 individual races, located across the system from the isolated moons of Crusader to the bustling city centers of Hurston and Microtech. Each race, pilots will control a featured vehicle, from the rugged Drake Dragonfly to the lightning-fast Tumbril Cyclone, navigate perilous terrain and conditions, as well as one another. Racers will face off on Magda, crashing through mountain passes and dusty valleys. Walla, where jutting cliffs and deep craters force pilots to thread the perfect line. And Cleo, where one wrong move means plummeting into a lunar sea. Racers will pick up individual wins across the races, but only the team with the highest overall standings can claim the title of Stanton 7's champion. Sign-ups begin soon. Get your crew together and join us for the Stanton 7. You won't want to miss it.
Okay, awesome.
That's a good commercial.
Yeah, LM. Yeah, you know what? I hate
is.
to say it. These people put out such great content. You know, it's just it's like, wow, this is like really produced really well. LM, why don't you share a little bit about the Stanton 7 for folks who may not have even heard anything about it yet?
All right, so for those of you that are familiar with the Daymar Rally, the Daymar Rally is like open to everybody. Come as you are, enter in the divisions, and it is a marathon race across Daymar, right? So the Stanton 7 is a lot different, and this is the first Stanton 7. This is the first year of it. So what it is a tournament of 7 total races. They already have the rule book out, and it's based on like where you finish for each race. You get points, and whoever has the most points is the Stanton 7 champion. So yesterday they had the qualifier, because this is limited. They are only running 16 teams in this entire tournament. So yesterday they, in so many, in like different servers, they raced 95 teams and pared it down to the top 16. And it was really brutal. It was really fun. Our president raced, and he did well, but not well enough. Because there were some teams with some really good times. Like whoever wins, it's obvious it's going to be those who practice these courses a lot. The courses are all laid out. They have maps for them on the stanton7.com. And it is starting March 13th, a Saturday, and every other Saturday until it's over. That's the battle rhythm for that. And they always put on a great show. So it'll definitely be very interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, fastcart. So you had a question.
So, thank you. So, yeah, CNN? No, I'm kidding. So you said it is a marathon, but how long does it normally take?
Oh, the Daymar Rally. Yeah, the Daymar Rally is a marathon, which depending on if you're in the Dragonflies or the Ursa Rovers.
This one.
So the races are all different. So we just did the qualifier, which is 3 laps around Daymar's. There's an ArcCorp mining area 141, which is this mining area that's just raised on a plateau, and so the racing track was just going around the edge of that. It was okay. pretty complete course that you just do your 3 laps and they just get your best time. So some of these races are also with laps in mind. Some of them are out and backs. One of them is a start, you go around the ocean and finish. They're very diverse. The maps are very interesting, and they're not going to be easy. They're all going to take different times, and as far as I'm aware for most of these, because most of these are lap-based, they only race one team at a time because they want to ensure maximum performance for all the race teams, because they want to get the best performance out of these teams, as opposed to the Daymar Rally is endurance. But we want to see these teams perform very well, and that's why yesterday the top 16 teams absolutely did that. The course that was the qualifier has an average of about between 145 and like 230 for a lap, and the teams yesterday were getting 135s, 137s. So the winning qualifying teams were between 137 and 149. Only 12 seconds to spare, and the rest of the other 80 teams were getting 220, which is solid laps, but we're going to see some very competitive racers in this.
LM, what were the vehicles that are this time being used in this particular race? What specific vehicles are they able to use?
It's different for each race, but they're listed for each event. So we have Dragonflies, Cyclone RCs, the Nox, and the Gray Cat PTV. And what's special about the final race is it's a loop where they will incorporate all these ground vehicles. Like you start and you switch. The last race will be intense. It's the Dragonfly, switch to the Cyclone, switch to the Ursa, switch to the Grey Cat.
Wow.
So I put a link for your org, the record. But if you have a link for the Stanton 7 or Stanton7.com, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Just go to Stanton7.com.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Yeah, because it's part of the Atmo suite of their entertainment, their community events. So they have specialized websites, and the Stand 7 one has a lot of that information there. All the maps are there and notated with the courses. All the rule books even out too. I don't know if it's public, but the team's got the rule book with the allocation of points, kind of like a Mario Kart system, of points. If you're first, you get 25, second gets 22, and but whoever practices the most will win. These very treacherous
How many points is hitting a person in a wheelchair car worth?
I don't.
Yeah. Oh, you're not talking about those kind of points.
Yeah. That was only back in the day when we were walking around our court, but we don't do that anymore. Frosty K77, thank you so much for the 1 month subscription. We appreciate that. And Soltor, thank you for the follow. X Ghost, thank you for the follow as well. If I missed you earlier, 007.
I see a question here.
Yeah.
Griff. Let me try to understand it.
Sure.
Was the qualifying round one Vic on one track? Why would that hold weight over the other?
Victory.
Well, because like we saw yesterday, the qualifying course was not a walk in the park. Like if you look at the top-down map, it looks easy, but Daymar is the proving ground for racers for the rest of these. And yes, there's different vehicles involved, but it's kind of the easiest one. It's kind of using the Cyclone RCs and people's finesse with that, because most of the other races involved use the RCs. Like, what is it? 3 out of 4 use the RC. Mm-hmm. So by probability, you have to show that you're good in the RC anyway. And Daymar is tough. If you couldn't make that qualifier, you don't deserve to be there. And they proved that. It was a very, very difficult course.
And you said there were 95 teams that tried to qualify for that? Jeez.
Oh, yes.
That's a lot of folks.
EU and US teams.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, you guys check out Stanton 7. Like I said, they've been qualifying for it. It's going to be this is their first year doing it. I mean, we're really excited about anything that's kind of, community driven, and the fact that CIG supports it makes it even better. God only knows what we're going to see in the future. But it sounds really, really exciting. And, I tried to watch Daymar from my 890 jump with a few people. I
know. I was in your server.
You remember that? That's right. Yes, I know. Thank you.
Wild.
Yeah, but we had a good time at Daymar, so I know Stanton 7 is going to be great. Let's try to wrap it all up again very quickly. We want to say thank you to LM Love Machine for being our guest this week. LM, tell again folks where they can find you or what org you're with or whatever. Mad Style, oh my God.
Wow, Mad Style.
1,000 bits. Thank you, Mad Style. He's closing us out on the big way here. Jeez. LM, let some folks know a little bit about you again, where they can find you or your org.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for having me, Griffin. I am the Rec Raiders kind of public affairs person. The Rec Raiders are a salvage guild, but we also do dogfighting. We fly and explore. We have a great time just hanging out with each other. We're a rookery of experienced pilots, but we also love to have new people, train people up, get them in our operations. The easiest way to get in touch with us is we have Rec Raiders Twitch, and if you go to that, we have a Discord link, so you can hop in our bar chat, hang out with us. We also, fastcart put the link up earlier to our org page. Applications are open. We'd love to have you. We just love to fly, have fun, have a good time, and make our own fun in Star Citizen.
Okay. Well, we're very, very happy to have you. Admiral, I'm sorry, I missed your question. I'm trying to scroll back and see what it was that you asked. Every American tank gun through artillery, the retribution. I'm scrolling back, brother, and I'm not seeing it. I see you see it. You want us to answer it. Can you type it again or copy and paste it in real quick, and we'll try to answer it? I saw what you're saying, that you want to have the tank have a horn like the Oblivion.
The question
but
covers the Nova.
Yeah, something about the Nova tank. I don't know what it was that you put in. tell him, oh, check the question sheet. I'm sorry, buddy. We didn't have that's why we're not seeing it. Okay.
Oh, okay.
It's on the question sheet. My apologies. Okay, so Admiral Kusanagi says, do you think that the ammo, wow, it's a long question. Do you think that the ammo of the Nova tank, since it looks like it's different barrel type, could be the first for ballistic ammo types, later is seen in the Perseus, which we've seen in pictures to be ballistic? Yes. To answer your question, Admiral, I remember them talking about this with the Nova. They said that that is ballistic, but they also talked about that it will fire other types of rounds later on. So it won't be just solely that. They'd write EMP rounds. There'll be some other variables that they're going to fire. Hopefully I'm answering your question now. But they did say that there would be some other stuff that cannon would be able to fire. But it is ballistic, and it is not removable. It'll just be that the ammo will be different, but not the actual barrel itself, if you're referring to the main barrel. Okay. All right, Kemi, let folks know where they can find you.
Oh man, I'm hanging around Twitch. I'm there all the time at KEMI65. You'll find me there. Come in, hang out. You'll see my streams there, and I'm here on Soul Citizens 8 p.m. Also, I'll do some of the Friday night lives. It's really late, but it starts around 11:30 Eastern time. But we're hanging out, answering questions, and we encourage people to come in onto the chat and just talk about Star Citizen, whatever you want to talk about, and just bring up the subject, and we'll talk it through, just to hang out and have a good time.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And fastcart, where can people find you?
They can find me on twitter.com/fast_cart. I'm on Tuesday with Miss Hart, the 80s show at 8 p.m. Eastern on the Base Radio, twitch.tv/the Base Radio, and that's all 80s show for a couple of hours. And find me here on Friday Night Live. It's not late for me because I'm a night owl, so I don't know what Kemi's talking about, but yeah, it's not late for me. But yeah, Friday Night Live and here on Sundays. And also, I'm on Table of Horror RPG, tabletop RPG. They're doing not Dark Ages, but old school vampire game that I'm not in on. But
I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you. Oh, it's cool.
Okay.
Yeah, all vampire. Go ahead. Masquerade. Yep. Mm-hmm. Awesome.
And when that is over, I'll be back on the normal World of Darkness time. So that's normally on Wednesday, 8 p.m. So check them out for that.
Awesome sauce. We want to remind you guys that next week is our first year anniversary, March 7th. And as you know, as we mentioned earlier, we are trying to reach 1,000 followers on Twitch. We are at 824 as of tonight, so we only need another 176, get my math right, 176 followers. Yep. So tell your friends, tell your family, bring your kids next week. We want folks to be able to follow us. And again, if we, I know, you already know where that comes from, Kimmy. Hide your money, hide your kids. All right, so next week, if we hit 1,000 followers, we will be giving away a what did I say we're going to give away? An Endeavor, a Misc Endeavor base. A base, yes, absolutely. Make sure we know it's not the master set. Not the master set, it'll be a base. And depending on how things go, if we don't give that away, we will probably give away a Banu Merchantman. So yeah, I can tell you that's probably what we're going to do. But if we hit 1,000, we're going to do the base, and then we're going to do some other stuff too. And hopefully all of our team that you see, all those beautiful faces, will be here next week to join us, and we'll kind of reminisce and talk about Star Citizen and have fun next week. So again, thank everyone who was here tonight, who hung out with us tonight, all the questions, the lively chat. Thank you for the bits and for the subscriptions and the follows. And we will look forward to seeing you guys next week sometime, right? Next Sunday. And don't forget about Friday Night Live. We have our Friday night show, which is our talk show, community talk show, where you guys get to come on and talk with us. You get to actually come in our Discord, and we get to just chat about Star Citizen stuff. And then, as again I said, next Sunday will be our anniversary show. So we are
anything but Origin. I'm topped off on Origin discussion. Okay, more about Origin.
All right, we're going to set up a raid for Verity right now. So you guys, when you get over to see Verity, make sure you say hi to her, give her a shout, hang out with her, follow her if you're not following her. She's a great streamer. And as always, we want to tell you guys peace, love, and soul. We'll see you guys real soon. Take care. Have a great week.